Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Bicentennial Town Hall. This is the last in our series, our year-long series of events to celebrate Defiance's 200th birthday. I'm Sarah Tackett, and I'm the Executive Director of the Defiance Area Chamber of Commerce and the Co-Executive Director of the Strady Center for the Arts. And I'm honored to be your Mistress of Ceremonies for tonight's event. To begin, at this time, I would like to invite all of you to please rise for the playing of our national anthem as played by members of the Ayersville High School Band. And then you may be seated, followed by their playing March of America. They are directed by Mr. Hunter DeWitt. Well done. Thank you, students. At this time, if there are any elected officials in the audience with us tonight, would you please stand and be recognized? Thank you so much for being here.
You know, Sarah, I hate to butt in on you, I really do, but you're used to that, aren't you? You know, one person that just stood that we owe a real solid round of applause is Judge John Roars. He'll be retiring at the end of the year, and he certainly has served this community well on our bench. Thank you, Judge.
Founded in 1823 at the confluence of the Maumee and Auglaize rivers, the city of Defiance has a rich and colorful history. The Bicentennial Committee was tasked to commission a video to showcase our fair city. Please enjoy this video, produced by Holy Hill Media, celebrating 200 years of Defiance.
2023 has been a year full of opportunities to honor our community as we celebrate the City of Defiance's Bicentennial. As we reflect on the past 200 years, the name Defiance stands true. Honor, innovation, strength, confidence, a true confluence of connections. Although considered a small town, From canals to trolleys to railroads, to the present-day interstates connecting us to neighboring metropolitan areas, our location is unique and has been a commerce hub since 1823. Industry has made its mark, making Defiance a leader in business innovation throughout the country and even worldwide. Large-scale business and industry brought with it the rise of the small business owner. Downtown Defiance became the entertainment hub and the place to purchase needs and wants. Cruising down Clinton Street, stopping by the local pub, and strolling the streets, that was an example of a hoppin' Friday night. From downtown to the north side, business continued to boom, now welcoming franchise businesses and the excitement surrounding the construction of the Northtown Mall. Arcades, movies, shopping, oh my. 200 years, that's a long time. The stories of our forefathers live on at the historical sites that preserve our heritage, many near the confluence of the Maumee and Auglaize rivers, where our community began. Community landmarks continue to keep our history alive through building preservation and the protection of artifacts and information. We have celebrated our milestone all year long, but displaying pride in our community is what we do best. From presidential campaign visitors and circus acts, to community festivals, fundraisers, and local school events, Defiance has always shown up in support. Whether it's for a neighbor in need or a community town hall, we make our community a priority with determination to be a great place to live. Defiance, Ohio, proud of where we have come from, where we are today, and where we plan to go in the future. We encourage you to come and be part of it all.
And now we welcome to the stage the Tenora Trombone Quintet as they perform the selections Eternal Father, Strong to Save, and God Bless the USA. They are under the direction of David Middleton. Tenora Trombone Quintet. Thank you so much. Well done. I've had the honor of serving on the Bicentennial Planning Committee for the past 2 years, although there were moments where we joked that it had been 14 years. But a great group of people that we got to spend a lot of time with, and we're very proud of all of the events that we were able to plan to highlight our fair city. I'd like to acknowledge and thank my fellow committee members at this time. Would you please stand and remain standing as I call your name? Our fearless leader from the Defiance Development and Visitors Bureau, our chair, Kirsty Mack. And also from the DDVB, Lori Hagerman and Mackenzie Beck. Myself, representing the Chamber of Commerce. From the Defiance Public Library, Kara Potter. From the Andrew Tuttle Museum, Richard Rosevink. From the Strady Center for the Arts, Jeff Tackett and Katie Pauley and myself. From Defiance Community Television, DCTV, John Atkins. If you were a former committee member or a volunteer at any of our bicentennial events, would you please stand right now and join us? And ladies and gentlemen, would you please thank these fine people for all of their efforts during our bicentennial year. Thank you so much, everyone. A very special poetry contest was held, the Ode to the Zip Code, inviting authors of all ages to write a poem of 5 lines, with each line representing the numbers in our 43512 zip code. So 4 words in line 1, 3 in line 2, 5 in line 3, 1 in line 4, and 2 in line 5. In total, we received 38 submissions. The 3 winners of each age group will each receive a prize from Mayor McCann and have been asked to share their poems with us tonight. So we will begin in the under 12 age group. I'm very pleased to welcome to the stage Miss Emmy Belcher. Emmy is a first grader at Tenora Elementary School. She's the daughter of Kelsey and Jacob Belcher. Please welcome Emmy.
Where I grew up, family and friends, a great place to live, love, Defiance, Ohio.
I mean, that was spectacular. I can't tell you how much we appreciate it for you taking the time and the effort to do that. We're very proud of you. Have you been to the new movie theater yet? You've not. Well, here's your opportunity to go, because there are 4 tickets in there for you to go to the movie theater. Thank you very much.
In the 13 to 18 age group, please welcome Dylan Brown, a sophomore at Ayersville High School. He's the son of Christy and Craig Brown, and he has somehow managed to get the mayor to agree to read his poem.
Well, Dylan, I have to tell you about the first time I stood on this corner of this stage. Now, it's been a while back. I was in 7th grade. I went to junior high right over here in this building, and I was Pigpen in A Charlie Brown Christmas. Step up here, young fella. Festivals, fireworks, and decorations. Lilacs and ribs. Summertime relaxation with balloon inflation. Childhood, defiance, livelihood. Great job. Have you been to the new theater? Oh, we're 2 for 2 here so far. You already got your card. All right, good deal. So here you go. And thank you very much for participating. I'm proud of you. And I know your mom and dad are too.
And in the 19 and older age group, please welcome Cindy Bassus. She is now retired, but was a long-time teacher in our area of the state. So please welcome Cindy.
Defiance, born and raised, planted in clay, rooted deeply like appleseed trees, beloved stomping grounds.
So have you?
Been to the theater, yes.
You've been to the theater, all right. Nonetheless, you have the opportunity to go again. Thank you very much. Nice job.
And thank you to everyone that submitted a poem, and congratulations to our 3 very talented poets. The Defiance Area Foundation created Project 2030 with the goal of raising enough money in 10 years to build something we could only dream about today. For an update on the progress, please welcome Project Chair Jake Oberlin.
You got some tickets for me? I did see Paw Patrol in there last week. I didn't see much of it. Thank you to the Bicentennial Committee for giving me the opportunity to speak a little bit tonight about something that's exciting for me, and I'm going to say that word a lot in the next 5 to 8 minutes, Kirsty. Exciting and near and dear to my heart. But first, congratulations to you, Kirsty, and everybody that was just mentioned on the board. As part of the Bicentennial Committee, there have been a lot of really fun, really exciting things that have gone on in the community this year. It's been fun to participate as a bystander and as a person with young children, so congratulations to you. And I was going to tell everyone, enjoy what's left of the Bicentennial, but I just heard tonight that this is it. So what a cap, what a way to end it. So congratulations, and here's to the next 100 years, I guess. Yes, I'm Jake Oberlin. I'm a committee member. I'm a trustee at the Defiance Area Foundation, and tonight I'm speaking to you as the president and chair of Project 2030. But before I talk a little bit about that, I realize that I'm up here tasked with talking a little bit about the future of this great community, and I think it's worth noting that the future of the community is now. Why is the future of the community now? It's because of a lot of hard work, a lot of investment, and a lot of energy from a lot of people, and a lot of people that are here in this room tonight. Starting with the guy behind me, Mayor McCann, who built what I would consider a great administration back in the day when I was on city council. And now he's flipped it and put on a bunch of young people like myself, all ages totaled, might add up to his age. I'm not quite sure of the math, and I won't check it, but congratulations on that. A park system that looks nothing like it did 10 years ago. I think a park system that used to look the same as it did when I was 8 years old. Now you can't even tell the difference. Bronson, Eastside Park, Kingsbury, all places that we frequent on the weekends, Mayor. Really exciting to be a young person looking toward the future in our community right now. And maybe most importantly, business people here in town that could do business anywhere, the Steve Groobs, the Brian Kellers, the Brandon McCanns and the Drew Schindlers, the Megan Shingledeckers and the Megan Strasbaughs and the Mark Kleins. They could do business anywhere, but they choose to do business here, and that's amazing. It's additive to our community. It's a place for people to work, and it's just going to make this next time in our community even more exciting. So I just felt remiss if I didn't touch on that first and say thank you to all of those things that are going to make our future even better. Project 2030, what is it? It's an investment shares-based concept, and I have to read that because every time somebody asks me what it is, I butcher what it is, to create a lasting project here in the city that's going to be remembered for years to come and enjoyed by generations and generations in the future. The goal was to set up a system whereby individual members of our community could invest $25 at a time and amass shares as you would in a publicly traded company. At the end of about 10 years, when we started in 2020, it would be year 2030, so we called it Project 2030. All those people that made all those $25 donations, either in a block, in a couple of iterations, or $25 a month for about 100 months, and a bunch of people would have a bunch of shares in this great project that we don't even know what it is yet. And then, in about the year 2030, we're going to take a slate of stuff, a slate of ideas from the people in Project 2030, put it to a vote, all voted on by people who have donated money, and at the end of the day, whatever we choose as a group through our shares and through our votes is going to be what we construct in the year 2030, and we are so excited about what that could look like. So, where are we at today? That's the reason I'm here, to give you a little update. We have 77 members in Project 2030 as we round into about the 40th of 100 months in Project 2030. In our bank account today, we have over $225,000 in investment in donations with a commitment. Now, like I said, you can do it at one time or you can do it over the length of the project. So in commitments, we have over $340,000, which is exciting. I'm going to keep saying it, exciting. Thanks. And our stated goal began as $250,000, and that was great. As you can tell, we've surpassed that now in terms of commitment. This project started as what we envisioned to be more geared toward individuals. That kind of all got flipped on its head at our first annual meeting, which was incidentally in the mayor's kitchen, when Doug and Drew Schindler decided to be the project's first visionary donors as they celebrated their 100 years in business, and they donated $50,000 to Project 2030. And from there, that bolstered a kind of a new category of giving that we weren't really thinking about when we started. So now we've got businesses all over the city, some of which are representatives sitting here, John Gathman, Mark Klein. Anybody else who's a visionary of 2030 that's here that I don't see? No, we've got about 10 or 15 of them now. So businesses who have stepped up to the plate to get shares as well. I think that's just indicative of our community, how people come together and think about things that we weren't even thinking about before. So what could it be? The answer is, I don't know. It's up to you. In 2024, we've put together a program to get into community schools. So we have Defiance, Fairview, and Tenora. At this point, we will have an essay contest and or a drawing contest, depending on age, to come up with ideas for what this project will be. And like I said, in about 6 or 7 years, we're going to put all these ideas together with a committee, which you can get involved with for a small commitment of some shares. And we're going to figure out what we're going to put together in the year 2030. How do you get involved? Call the foundation, call Chris Yoder, who's not here tonight. Call me. We'd love to sit down and talk to you about how we can get $25 a month, how we can get $3,000 today, or how we can help you or some business that you know become a visionary in this great project. We are so excited. In closing, like I said at the beginning, the future is now. But the future is now because we set a path 5 years ago, 10 years ago, so that we weren't always dreaming, and we weren't always looking to the future, because we did a lot of really hard work back then, so now we can do something really cool. So thank you. I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. And now please welcome to the stage the Defiance High School Brass Sextet, directed by Kathy Booth. They will be performing Caissons Go Rolling Along and America the Beautiful. done. Thank you so much. And now it's time for the man himself, a presentation by the mayor of our fair city, Mike McCann. Following his presentation, we will have a question and answer session. So if you wish to ask the mayor a question, we will have microphones available for you to do so. So please welcome the mayor of the city of Defiance, Mike McCann.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate the opportunity. And thanks to all of you for coming here tonight. This is great to see all of you. You know, I really like that video. John, can you play that again for us?
"2023 has been a year full of opportunities to honor our community as we celebrate the City of Defiance's Bicentennial. As we reflect on the past 200 years, the name Defiance stands true. Honor, innovation, strength, confidence, a true confluence of connections. Although considered a small town, from canals to trolleys to railroads, to the present-day interstates connecting us to neighboring metropolitan areas, our location is unique and has been a commerce hub since 1823. Industry has made its mark, making Defiance a leader in business innovation throughout the country and even worldwide. Large-scale business and industry brought with it the rise of the small business owner. Downtown Defiance became the entertainment hub and the place to purchase needs and wants. Cruising down Clinton Street, stopping by the local pub, and strolling the streets, that was an example of a hoppin' Friday night. From downtown to the north side, business continued to boom, now welcoming franchise businesses and the excitement surrounding the construction of the Northtown Mall. Arcades, movies, shopping, oh my. 200 years, that's a long time. The stories of our forefathers live on at the historical sites that preserve our heritage, many near the confluence of the Maumee and Auglaize rivers, where our community began. Community landmarks continue to keep our history alive through building preservation and the protection of artifacts and information. We have celebrated our milestone all year long, but displaying pride in our community is what we do best. From presidential campaign visitors and circus acts, to community festivals, fundraisers, and local school events, Defiance has always shown up in support. Whether it's for a neighbor in need or a community town hall, we make our community a priority with determination to be a great place to live. Defiance, Ohio, proud of where we have come from, where we are today, and where we plan to go in the future. We encourage you to come and be part of it all.
Thanks, John, for making that happen. You know, that small voice has done big things for this city. It's just amazing what Rick Small has done. What a year. What a year to turn 200, celebrate those 200 years, talk about our history, talk a little bit about where we're going, and talk more about it tonight while we're all here. And I'm excited for that opportunity. I'm very, very excited. While all this is going on, one of the first things we realized that we knew we needed to undertake so that we could better tell our story. Because if we don't tell our story, nobody's ever going to tell it for us. My mother is sort of tribute to these young folks in the band always used to say, you have to toot your own horn because nobody's going to toot it for you. So one of the first things we did was develop a new website. Pretty simple URL, www.cityofdefiance.com. Not gov, just .com. And I have to give a lot of credit to all of my staff, but specifically my assistant, Ryan's assistant, Debbie Stevens. She's out here snapping pictures tonight. But Debbie took the lead on this. She took the bull by the horns, and over a period of what probably was about a year, she made it happen. She made it happen, and we're really, really excited about what it brings. And why did we go there? In all honesty, we started to look at a new website opportunity really for one reason and one reason only, to communicate with you. You all had grown quite accustomed to getting a nixle. We'd say, send a nixle for this. We still say send a nixle, we just don't send nixles. But we needed a new platform to get information out to you. And that's right here. On the home page, actually right now, if you want to take your phone out and scan that QR code down in the lower left corner, you could do that. But also, you get home tomorrow, get home tonight. Gosh, I hope you don't get home tomorrow. I won't keep you that late, I promise. But you can go to the home page and you see that Notify Me. You can go on to Notify Me and sign up, and you can get in there and get specific about what exactly you want to know about. You want to know what city council agenda is? It's there for you to check the box. You want to know what planning commission agenda is? It's there to check the box. If you just want the emergency notifications, that's fine. Check those boxes and we'll make sure you get those. It's really a good platform. We just need to get more and more people signed up. And so that's right there on our homepage, and we'd encourage you to go there. And Debbie, thank you for all your hard work on that website. I know it was a big, big job. The other thing that we knew we needed to do, and something that I've been hearing about for many, many years, even before I was mayor, was we needed to develop a comprehensive plan. And many asked me, Mike, what is a comprehensive plan? Well, it's a comprehensive plan. It's a plan that just outlines everything. It talks about all the different things that we want to do going forward. And the comprehensive plan should guide us over the next 5 to 10 years. There may be some editing that needs to take place for unforeseen circumstances, but that's what the comprehensive plan will do for us. The comprehensive plan, for the most part, is done. It was adopted by City Council back in September of this year. It took 1.5 years to develop. So while Debbie's working on the website, we're working on the comprehensive plan. And we had a lot of fun doing it, a lot of input from various people. I did see President Mankey from the college. She was part of that group. Mr. Morton from the Defiance City Schools was part of that group. A lot of good people helped us. If you looked at the cover of it, it looks just like this. And this is there's a lot of photography in the comprehensive plan. It's fun just to sit down and look at the pictures, in all honesty. It truly, truly is. But that's the comprehensive plan. We're beginning to follow it. We right now are working on our zoning code and our sign code as well. Next thing up for us to talk about is economic development. And I will tell you, I was with Nikki Warnicki, our city planner. Nikki is just spectacular to work with, and she was the first person I hired when I got to the city. In all honesty, she was working at Maumee Valley Planning at the time. I went out to see her. I needed her help on some grants, what are called capital budget requests to the state legislature, something we'd never done at the city until I got there. And I said, Nikki, I need your help on that. And she said, well, Mike, I have to work on this for Napoleon, and I have to work on this for Wasion, and this for Bryan. I said, hold it, Nikki, that puts me in fourth place. Fourth place is no place I want to be. I went back to the city. I said, we need to hire Nikki Warnicki. And she's just done marvelous things for us at the city. If you like what you see in our parks, there's a lot of people to thank, but Nikki would be right there at the top of the list. So on the economic development front, I said, hey, Nikki, there's a lot of stuff in the pipeline right now that we need to talk about. So this is the slide that Nikki came up with. Now, Josh Mass, our city councilman, 3rd Ward, sitting right there. He's all excited because he sees this plumbing stuff going on. But this gives you a pretty good idea of all that is happening. Up the side here on the left-hand side, we're working to get our certified brownfield sites. We've had terrific cooperation from Defiance County. You know, when we first started to talk about the need for a land bank, and we met with the county, there was some pushback. And quite honestly, it was simply because there was some misunderstanding. But at the state level, they were pushing money out to these land banks. And as you all know, one of my initiatives has been to try and clean up our city. If you know my background, you probably understand why. We needed that land bank. And finally, the commissioners got on board. Defiance County Treasurer was on board. The auditor was on board. And I just can't say enough about them. But they're working on these brownfield sites. They deserve all the credit in the world for what we've seen happen out on the east side with the SK hand tool property. That never would have happened without the leadership of the Defiance County Commissioners and the land bank. Working more on that, we still want to do the Zeller property out on Baltimore Road, right next door to City Hall. As much as we don't want to tear down that Gary's Automotive building, it's a cool old building. It's got a fascinating history. They used to make mittens there. And, the building itself, if you go inside, it's horribly decayed, badly molded. Some of the main structure is collapsing. I wouldn't feel safe going in there. So that's all exciting. Mega site, you've heard us talk about the mega site out west on Defiance. There are things in that pipeline right now for the mega site. We had a lead come in today. Looked like something we might want to look at until they said needs to be on or near navigable waterways. And I'm pretty certain they didn't mean canoes and kayaks, so that kind of took us off the list. We've got the Harmon Business Park out just off of Domersville Road. We have a packaging group there. What a fascinating operation to go in there and watch them make pumps for the cosmetics industry. Unbelievable. Just watch all these pumps going through that facility and just cranking them out one after the other. Enterprise Industrial Park, as you drive out there now, you see that to Senator Curley. And in in February, pay attention to the news, because I believe you'll be hearing something pretty darn exciting about Enterprise Industrial Park and what the next step for that park is. New retail business, we're working that all the time. We're looking at a means right now to market to the retail industry. It's a question I often get asked, and quite honestly, it's something we don't work on very hard. Retail has always just sort of happened, but it may not be happening quite at the pace you'd like to see it happen. Nothing happens at the pace I'd like to see it happen. And so we may be looking at options on retail. And that takes you right away. You say, well, Mayor, what's up with Duncan? We've been hearing about Duncan. Is Duncan really going to happen? I don't believe it. Duncan's going to happen. We're meeting with them regularly now, looking at their site plans. Some of you may know that we just recently received a grant to construct 2 roundabouts, one at the entrance to Defiance Regional as well as the Wooded Acres subdivision, and one a little bit further down at what technically is still Harding, but sometimes we call it Latchaw as well. So those 2 roundabouts, in between them will be a Duncan. Duncan really was excited about that. We just had to work on their site plan a little bit to accommodate the roundabouts and all of that. But I think the only thing they really have left to work on is some overhead wires and their stormwater management. Beyond that, we're actively pursuing downtown restaurants. Jake mentioned the name Brian Keller. Brian Keller has worked very hard on that 300 Clinton Street project, as has Jake. The issue for Brian has been to try and at least make it break even. I don't know whether he'll get there, but he's worked on 3 different iterations that I know of. And what slowed the project down, in all honesty, is once they alter those plans, they have to go back down to Columbus for plan approval, and that's where it takes time. We just don't have the folks in Columbus right now to make that plan approval happen. But I do believe that once 300 Clinton is done, we're going to be amazed and awed by what they have done there. Other downtown restaurants, we certainly want to work with those, and we're talking to restaurant leads all the time. Housing. Certainly by this time next year, I won't be shocked to say to you we'll be bringing 1,000 new jobs to the city of Defiance. If we bring 1,000 jobs to our city, that's going to bring more people to our city. And therefore, we're going to need more places for them to live. Again, there's a pipeline here. No pipes this time, Josh. But there's a pipeline here with projects in it. We have the Defiance Senior Living Facility, which is on the top left there. And we're excited about that Defiance Senior Living Facility. That will be out on Latchaw Drive behind Defiance Regional Hospital. And it's a senior living facility, someplace for Lori and I. That is moving through the planning and financing process. And you say, well, how does that help on housing? Well, as seniors move out of their home they live in now, then it would become available for other people that are in the market. And I know interest rates are kind of tough right now, and everybody's saying, oh, mortgage rates are 8%. Well, back in 1978, when I bought my first house, I believe my mortgage rate was 14%. So we'll get used to it. I will adjust, and Mark Klein, who's sitting right out here, has assured me that we'll be back in that 2 or 3% range very soon. Actually, Mark didn't assure me of that at all. But it sounds good, and you chuckled, which is what I was after. Townhomes at Maumee Heights, proposed townhome project out on Domersville Road, right adjacent to the Harmon Business Park, and those plans are moving along nicely. Lower left is the Defiance Place Apartments out behind Northtown Mall next to Wooded Acres. I'm often asked, have you worked out all the issues with the residents of Wooded Acres? The answer is no, and we never will. But there is a need for this housing. We've done our best we've eliminated the access from that apartment complex into the Wooded Acres subdivision, which I never thought was a good idea, but it got stuck in there anyway. And we've moved the apartments around a little bit to make them less intrusive into that great Wooded Acres subdivision. And then finally, one of the things we often talk about here is, for quite a few years, in the 8 years that I've been mayor, every year we would tear down more homes than we would build. And it's not really a statistic I'm proud of, but it is a fact. But now everywhere we've torn down a home, for the most part, there's a vacant lot. And that vacant lot already has streets. It already has water and sewer lines. It has what it needs to receive a new home. We have had some folks build on those homes, great workforce housing, but we need more. I was born in 1957, and at that time, General Motors was going and growing, as were other businesses here in the city. And in that time, you saw subdivisions like Huffman Edition, where I grew up, Kerber Edition, Beringer Edition, but those are all tied with names. Huffman was Paul Huffman. Kerber was Jerry Kerber. Beringer was the Beringer brothers. Siebenthaler's Edition, Cy Siebenthaler. And you can go on and on and on. It's Wooded Acres, but that was the Yoder boys. What we need, we feel, is private enterprise, private builders, private developers to step up and build housing. And we think, as we announce these new employment opportunities here in the city, that will happen. You all know about the 1918 campus. We're on it. We're in it. A couple years ago, we started the plan. We were working with Garmin Miller to put together a new proposal for this campus, and they have done that. And our intention is to put that proposal out. This is what it looks like. Request for proposal in the month of December, January at the latest. But this is that proposal from Garmin Miller, and understand it's just a proposal. What we were looking here, what our plan for this campus all along has been, always to maintain this auditorium. I love this auditorium. I wouldn't imagine doing anything with it other than it being an auditorium. It's to create vibrancy in our downtown. Have people make this a destination for people that from here would migrate out into our downtown and eat in those restaurants and shop at those shops and stop at Donuts or Meeks and get a donut and Cabin Fever and get a coffee and on and on and on. So this is that campus. The gym is where the gym is, the 1918 building. would be nothing more than a renovated building. In the top right there, you can see, up in here, you can see some market rate apartments or possibly condominiums with looks out over our downtown. The school with a view. I once read a book, and it's just awesome. This is the backside. Garmin Miller felt that we needed to differentiate the gymnasium building from the 1918 building so that when people came here for an event, which the gymnasium would become event space for small conventions, wedding receptions, rehearsal dinners, any sort of in-house meeting of any sort, those sorts of spots are needed here. So that's the reason for that little bit of change on that. Plenty of parking on the football field with, of course, some sort of a monument recognizing Don Miller and his achievements as one of the four horsemen of Notre Dame. Clean up the railroad property back here, more parking, convert the Hinkle building to possibly a small boutique hotel so that when people are here for weddings or for conventions or for whatever, just a play in the community auditorium or some other form of entertainment, they would have the hotel to stay out of so they choose. Now this is nothing more than to send out to people and say, this is an idea, this is a concept, this is something to get creative juices flowing. What will come back from those requests for proposal, we have no idea. We have no idea. Now, I will say I'm very aware of the proposals out there that the 1918 building should be repurposed to be our Defiance Public Library and that the Tuttle Museum should move into the public library. Let me just say, the Defiance Public Library has its own board. It's a wonderful board. I know many of the people on there, and they function autonomously. We have no oversight over the public library or its board. If the public library has an interest in doing that, then what they should do is submit a request for proposal. As far as the Tuttle, yes, we do have oversight over the Tuttle, and it would remain to be seen whether relocating the Tuttle into a facility as large with the expensive maintenance and upkeep would be a wise decision by the City of Defiance. I'm happy to answer more questions later when that time comes. So that's it for the 1918 building as of now, and we're excited to very soon get those requests for proposal out there. Downtown, we think we're having some real success in our Defiance downtown. I already talked about Brian Keller's work at 300 Clinton. This year we started the facade program. We stole that idea from the City of Tiffin. The City of Tiffin, when we met with them, talked about their first year. They had $50,000 available. They granted that out to people. It was basically a match, and they had quite a few responses. We had a number of responses this year to that facade program. A couple examples of things that helped get done was repainting the front of Miami Erie downtown. It is right now fixing the back of one of the buildings in the 300 block of Clinton, just down from, or next door to Meeks Pastry. If you drive back around and make a deposit at the State Bank Motor Bank, you look off to your right, you see all the work that's being done on that building, and help Carl Kistner put a new roof on Kistner's. Got to have a solid roof on Kistner's. Yet this year we hope to get plans out and maybe some requests for proposals and some engineering on the Bicentennial Alley. You say, where's the Bicentennial Alley, Mayor? The Bicentennial Alley is off of East 2nd Street. So as you turn off of Clinton onto East 2nd, start to head east, the very first alley you come to will be our Bicentennial Alley. We already have Slocum, Anthony Wayne, Brickell, and Spencer. We thought it would be appropriate to have Bicentennial Alley. And it will be improved to look like our other alleys with a little bit of a bicentennial flair to it. And we're excited about that. We've got those funds available, and we'll be undertaking that next year. Another thing we're doing is a pedestrian safety project, which has been met with mixed feelings, and I get it. I get it. I think we all get it. But it is particularly a safety project. We'd had a lot of concerns voiced to us about accidents for people turning right on red. And if we ever needed an exclamation point on this idea or this notion, just last week, our city council president, Dave McMaster, was struck by a car while crossing First Street as a pedestrian, somebody turning right on red. And he just told me that it almost happened again today, that he had to avoid it. I suggest maybe jaywalking. It might be safer. I don't know, but it's something we absolutely have to move along with. And the only other piece here that we need to be careful of is when we're turning left and making sure that we yield to pedestrian traffic. There's the old adage, I think it was something that Nikki shared with me several years ago, is our city for cars or is it for people? And we believe at City Hall, it's for people. And if we want a vibrant downtown, if we want this building to fill up and create that vibrancy and these folks to move downtown, they need to feel safe doing it. Jake mentioned this, and I'm glad he did. Parks. I think it's been very obvious that we started out with an emphasis on parks. I don't like to say focused, because whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, we aren't focused at City Hall. Sorry, we aren't focused at City Hall. We have a lot of things going. Do some things get more emphasis than others? Yes, but we really aren't focused on any one thing. We can't. So obviously, right out of the gate, we took on Bronson Park. If I was going to tear down old buildings and old houses, I needed to tear out an old swimming pool. And about the time we were tearing out that swimming pool, I was in Atlanta, Georgia. And I was walking through the Olympic Village, and I saw all these young people playing around, and water was squirting out of the ground. All the parents were off to the side talking and laughing and watching their kids and having a good time. And I took a few pictures of it. I asked Nikki, what is this? She said, it's a splash park. I said, well, that's what I want at Bronson, right there. Figure it out. Well, I mentioned earlier Rick Small and all his help, and many, many other people jumped on, and we got a splash park. I think people love it. You look at the buildings and how they're painted and how creatively all that done, that's all Nikki. That's all Nikki and Melinda Sproul, our engineer, and we really enjoy that. So that's Bronson. We put in the meandering walkway. The library put in the story walk. We've upgraded the playground equipment out there. The Tower of Doom right there on the splash park. Everybody likes that. We need more Towers of Doom in the city. Kids love those things. I get anxious watching them climb, but they climb. And I know my mom used to come out of the house when we lived in Huffman Edition. We had a hickory tree in our side yard. And I like to climb trees, just like kids climbing. I climb trees, and she'd come out and she'd say, Michael, I know you're up there. It's time for lunch. So I guess kids like to climb. Next step for us, I think you've seen the activity at Kingsbury Park. I'm really excited about that. If you haven't been down to Kingsbury, you need to go down there. It looks a little bit different. We've added all these sidewalks into here. We've put new floors in our shelter houses. We've painted our shelter houses. What a difference a coat of paint makes. Good golly. And we've painted these two buildings as well. I was hesitant at that at first, that old style brick and stone on there. And Nikki has painted those in colors very similar to what we have, somewhat similar to what we have out at Bronson. And logos and designs, things will be going there very soon. And all this new playground here. We're just excited about Kingsbury. We're really, really excited. What did I do? I went up here in the upper part, you see the ball field, you see the pool. We own a lot of this in here, so we need to start to plan just what it is we want to do that. We don't own everything yet. We've acquired a lot of those properties using FEMA money because they're in floodplains, and we'll see where that takes us from here. That, in a nutshell, is what we've done at Kingsbury, as I see it. And I got to give a little credit. How do we get these things done? How do we get that playground done? How do we get other things done around our park? As I said before, I'd never heard about the capital budget. And once I heard about it and getting the money through our, at that time, State Rep Craig Riedel and Senator Rob McCauley, and the governor has his hands in it as well, we started making those applications. And Nikki works really hard on that, and we'll be doing that here right directly. We'll make the request in '24 with a plan to make many, many improvements to what we feel at this point is the last park that needs an upgrade, and that, of course, is Veterans Park at Laddie's Grove. So we'll be doing things like playground equipment, something to the ball field, the tennis courts, the basketball courts, some talk about adding possibly a pickleball court. Pickleball, man, it's going crazy. People like their pickleball. And I enjoy going down to Kingsbury to the pickleball courts and see them absolutely full at all times of the day. So we're pumped about that, and we appreciate the help. So that's where we're at, and that's where we're going short term, but let's look out a little bit further. Future plans. So again, we feel we've taken Bronson as far as we can. East Side Park, we've made good progress. There's a few things I'd like to do there. We'll see where that goes. Updated you on Laddie's Grove. Of course, we've done things at Deal, and we're just making good progress. But part of the comprehensive plan, when we were working with the staff of Glenn Grisdale, we went down to the rivers, and we started walking up and down the riverbanks. And I didn't realize how walkable today they are. But quite honestly, once you get down to the river and start walking along the river bank, there's plenty of places to go. And we feel like we need to take more advantage of that. You know, we have 3 rivers in this town. Until we cleaned out the riverbanks another few years ago, some people didn't even know they were there. And so we need to capitalize on our rivers and our riverfront. And we need to do even more than we've done so far with our parks. So in our budget for 2024, there's a line item to do a Parks and Riverfront Master Plan. And we're going to move ahead with that in 2024 with plans going forward. And we don't know what that says because it's not done yet. And a lot of you in this room will have input on that. You can all have input on that if you choose to offer input. But that's what we're planning on doing. And I think the big question, and I've talked about it before in smaller groups, there's been articles about it in the newspaper, and it's something I don't like to talk about, but you say, well, Mike, how are you going to pay for all this? And that's where I will tell you that our plan will be to do a Parks and Riverfront Master Plan with your help and your input in 2024, and possibly at the spring primary of 25, we may come to you with a request for a parks levy to build more parks and a little extra money to help maintain those new parks and all the amenities that we plan to add. But you'll have that input, and you'll have plenty of input. But what we don't know is what we don't know. We don't know what buildings we might need. We don't know what other amenities we might need. You know, recently it's been pickleball, but what's the next thing? People have been poking us a little bit about a skate park. Okay, how do we do that? Where do we put it? Those sorts of things. So I didn't want to spend a lot of time talking to you because, in all honesty, I'm anxious to hear from you and what your questions may be. And I know it's tough to step up to these 2 microphones right here, but they're there for you to come up and ask your question. And don't hesitate. Let me have it. I don't care what it is. You can, if you're frustrated about something, let me have it. That's what I'm here for. That's what town halls are all about. So at this time, isn't that a great picture? Williams Aerial. We love those guys. They do wonderful work for us. I'm here for questions. Don't ask me what time I want to be home. Honey, I don't know. I think you're going to turn the lights up a little bit. What do we got? Are you going to test the microphones?
No, sir.
Why don't you? They work. Come on. Questions?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am. Just your first name, please.
Linda.
Come on up, Linda.
I was just curious about what that long red artist rendition was at the end of the video. With the clock on it? What is that?
Oh, okay. Gateway Park. So the 100 block of Clinton, as you come across the Purple Heart Bridge, that first block is the 100 block. It's where the Lever Building used to be and all those other buildings. The only thing left now is River's Edge. That's our property now, and that is a concept for River's Edge, or excuse me, Gateway Park. It's a gateway into our downtown. We believe it would be a game changer for our downtown, and that would be part of our Parks Master Plan. That rendition was done by Ballhards during the pandemic when things were a little slow, and that is what we've shown so far. It's pretty cool.
But what's your idea for the building? What is going to be?
That particular portrayal, that brick is what was on the Deal Building on the other side of the river before they tore it down.
Okay,
That was the clock tower on that building, and that's what we put for there.
thank you.
Where that park will go, I don't know. Again, that's one idea, one concept. It's why we want to move ahead with this Parks Master Plan, to get more ideas. I don't know you can ever have enough ideas. I really don't. Great question, though, Linda. Thank you. Oh, Katie,
Hi.
you don't have to tell me your first name.
Okay.
So when I reckon back to making this Place Park happen, Katie and Mandy were two of Rick's
Thank you.
sidekicks. So I think if you donated $5,000, you got to throw a bucket of water on the mayor. Is that right?
Yeah.
What I really appreciate about Katie, she always made sure it was warm water. Because some days it was very cold out.
Yeah.
Katie?
So quick question. I'm all about the downtown revitalization and the facade grants. Any more discussion, I know I bother about you about this all the time, on cracking down on landlords for space that they may rent downtown that's visually very unappealing to walk by? I don't know. I think everybody knows a couple of buildings that I'm talking about, so any feedback on that?
It's a good question. I still have to tell myself we live in the United States of America. I think most days I understand that. And we want people to have their freedoms, and we respect that very, very much. By the same token, as Katie alludes to the fact that when someone else lets things go, it has an impact on everything else around it. And we have to be very mindful of that. We're working on that zoning code right now, Katie. My hope is that we can somehow include things in there that help us deal with that. But thank you for the question. Come on, we're rolling now. David Williams, it's good to see you. He was our law director for a lot of years. I learned a lot from David. We still learn a lot from David. Sean O'Donnell, our current law director, has him on speed dial. So you gonna ask a question, man?
I can wait until you.
No, come on down. I was just gonna talk about our new assistant law director.
Oh, well,
Go ahead.
I'm kind of shy, that's why I don't. I have,
And your first name is?
oh, I'm sorry, Sharon,
Sharon.
and I have three short questions.
Okay.
The first one is the Claude Henkel building was my junior high. And I was wondering, where are you going to put the pre-K at if you're going to turn that into like a little hotel?
Okay.
And also, would those admin offices go into the high school?
Keep going.
And then the second one is the Kingsbury, they used to have a putt-putt golf. And I was wondering, one of those empty lots across the street from the Kingsbury pool could be another putt-putt.
It could be.
And the third one is, I like what you did cutting down that tree in front of that second house from the Schaefers and cleaning that up. There's another house on the corner of Island Parkway and East 2nd that is an eyesore.
We're working on that one. Aren't we,
Yes.
Mr. Mack? All right.
Yes, 'cause especially that tree that's hanging over the electric wire.
Yep.
And I only see a car there every 3 or 4 days, and I think they live above the garage. So I was wondering about that.
Nope, I think that was actually 5 or 6 questions, Sharon, but
I'm sorry. Can't
for a
count.
shy person, you sure didn't. But no, that's good.
Once I
So
start, I get going.
first of all, what we were really hoping to do in the request for proposals for the 1918 building is make a joint request from the Defiance City Schools and the City of Defiance. But after their lawyers started talking to my lawyers, we realized that statutorily that wouldn't work. So we are constantly updating Mr. Morton, our superintendent here, who's constantly updating his board. But if the time ever comes that the Hinkle building would need to be raised for some other facility, whoever that developer is going to have to make things right with the Defiance City Schools as I see it, so that they can relocate that pre-K, relocate those administrative offices, I would assume, all out on the campus where our high school and middle school and elementary are now.
Okay.
But those are the conversations that we've had with Mr. Morton as well as the school board. Mr. Morton and I talk a lot, which if you know Mr. Morton and you know me, it's not hard for us two to talk a lot.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And the house on Jefferson. So that house was a concern to the people in the neighborhood. It was a concern to our city council. It was a concern to us. But again, I pinch myself and say, you live in the United States of America. People have freedom. And looking at our nuisance code, and I mentioned Judge Roars earlier. Judge Roars taught me a lot about our nuisance code very early on, which is why we had to rewrite it at some point. I don't know what it ever gotten rewritten had it not been the lessons I learned from Judge Roars. But there wasn't anything in our nuisance code that addressed all the scraggly brush and trees. Should there be? Probably, but it's not in there today. But I was in a meeting where I heard our Fire Chief Wilkins talk about 360-degree access in the fire code, and the light went on. And I thought, gosh, we don't have 360-degree access around that house because of all the brush and trees. So I called Chief Wilkins. I said, will you get out and look at that and see if there's some fire code issues? And he gathered up Ryan, and down they went, and you see the result. And I'm happy about that. Thank you, Ryan. Putt-putt, I don't know. We'll let the private sector decide whether that's a good idea or bad idea. Remember, it does flood. That's why we moved that playground up where we did, because that floods. And if that playground floods, we'll have to dig all that mulch out of there, which is fine, and put in new. We wanted to put in artificial surface, astroturf, whatever you want to call it, field turf. But we knew if that flooded, we'd have a real health concern on our hands. So that's why we went with mulch. And mulch is good. What else? Come on. We're just getting started. I was going to take off my jacket, roll up my shirt sleeves. Is that Margaret?
Hello.
Hi, Margaret.
I was just wondering if future plans for the river could, and Kingsbury Park, might include a band shell of some sort for, like, when you do the festivals, music festivals at Kingsbury.
You know, like an amphitheater?
Yeah, something like that. And somebody mentioned something about a boat dock downtown where people could tie their boats up and get off the boat and come and eat. I think somebody called it the Raul Sanchez Memorial Boat Dock, something like that. I think Defiance has done a great job of capitalizing on the rivers. And just for the record, the splash pad has been mentioned on day trip sites around the state. People come and go to a festival and go to the splash pad. So I was just wondering if any ideas like that might work in the future plans. And I'm glad to see more publicity for Independence Dam State Park. We have a state park right in our own backyard, and tying that together with what we have in the city, it's all good. And thank you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, Margaret. I will say that the boat dock idea is a very viable idea. One that when we start that Parks Master Plan, it will be part of that plan. The ability to have boat docks, certainly they'll have to come out in the winter. They'll have to be designed to flood, but that's why we have engineers. We have a very capable engineering division at the City of Defiance, led by Melinda Sproul. So I'm excited about the boat dock piece. You mentioned something, Margaret, that I failed to mention as part of my presentation, even though it was in my notes, is one of the things that came out of comprehensive plan conversation was somehow connecting all of our parks so that you could get from one park to the other. And that's when we started walking the river. And you start to walk the river and you maybe start behind Riverside Cemetery and you walk down to Downs and then you walk up down or down Downs. I never which way to go down Downs. But we walk up Downs and then you can circle around on Washington and go down to Riverside Park and then walk along Riverside and hop up on the Hopkins Street Bridge, go down by Buckman Park. Buckman Park will be another park where we will put a lot of emphasis. I'm determined before I leave office to pay tribute to Randy Buckman for all the work that he did here and get that Native American tribute built, and we will. Through Buckman Park and then on over to Kingsbury, jump across to walk around the library and visit Pontiac Park. So that's our goal, to make that one little piece of connectivity. And there's many, many other places to walk than what I just outlined, and have the river. And everybody must like water, because river lots sell for a whole lot more. People are paying lots of money to live on a lake and lots of money to live on the ocean or the Gulf of Mexico, so I'm assuming. Margaret, you're a great advocate and a good friend, and I appreciate you bringing that up. I get my little Margaret notes once in a while to keep me on the straight and narrow. What else? Come on.
I'll go.
Atta girl.
You know me.
This is daylight.
Okay. Is there any interest or future plans for more things for kids of all ages to do in Defiance? Like right now, you're down to one bowling alley. It's nice that we have a new movie theater, but there's not much for all ages of kids to do in Defiance to keep them out of trouble.
Yes. Just a quick note on the theater piece. I got a text from my granddaughter, Campbell, a couple weeks ago. Pop, I'm at the theater and you're dancing. Has anybody been to the theater and seen? I can't dance. But apparently they're using the old video that we did several years ago with the Border Control, Sean, Jeff Leonard, John Leonard, and myself. Debbie was in that as well, dancing, and they're showing it at the theater. Hopefully we can steer them more in this direction. So I mentioned, Dela, the Parks Master Plan. It will be absolutely essential that we engage young people as part of this process. I think I've heard Nikki refer to them as charrettes before. Where'd Nikki go? Nikki, is that what they'll do, charrettes with young people? And I will say something else that we've just started. We've had one meeting. Mr. Jerger at the high school, Nikki has encouraged me for years, but we had a pandemic, really goofed up some things. We had a meeting with young people at the high school, freshmen, sophomore, juniors, seniors, just to talk. Let them get to know me, let them get comfortable around me, but we'll continue to meet with those young people as the seniors graduate and move on. Hopefully they'll continue to provide us feedback, and we'll bring the younger ones up again. We may want to do the same thing with the kids in our junior high, but that's the kind of communication, Dela, that we help to open up with young people and get that feedback. I've heard skate park, and we're very early in the process of talking about what to do as far as the skate park go and where to put it. What else? What else? Well, thank you for being here tonight. I've enjoyed this. This is something we hope to do more, and I'm always available. You can go to that website. What? What? Oh, here we go.
She's just
You look like Caroline. Okay. What's your question, Caroline? You may want to bend that microphone down just a little bit. Atta girl.
I am very worried about the traffic cameras watching us all over the city.
Why don't you come up here with me? The mayor wasn't sure about feedback, so he took his hearing aid out before he came. Come up here again. Now ask me your question. Do you have it written down there? All right, well, belt it out. Here we go.
I am very worried about the traffic cameras watching us all over the city. After the Ohio Supreme Court's decision in Village of Newburgh Heights versus State of Ohio last year that allowed for the state to lower the amount of local government funds for cities with cameras, what does the mayor think about these cameras?
That's a great question. Now you stay up here with me. Caroline's kind of like family because her father is Sean O'Donnell, our law director. Maybe you're wondering, with Judge Roars retiring and our current Assistant Law Director Troy Essex assuming that position in January, what we've done. And we've hired Caleb Neese. Caleb's a Putnam County kid. His dad's a judge down there. He just graduated from law school. In fact, when we hired him, he had taken the bar exam, but we didn't know the results yet. So a few weeks ago, on a Friday, he got word that he'd passed his bar exam, which saved Sean's job. And just kidding. And then got married on Saturday. So he's in St. Martin right now. We expect him back next week. So your question is about the cameras in downtown. So this is what I'm told about those cameras, Caroline, is technically they aren't really cameras. That is, they don't film anything. They capture an image. And some of you will say they don't capture that image very well, because the image they're supposed to capture is you sitting at the traffic light, and it captures that image of your vehicle in that spot, and it starts a timer going that then starts everything in motion to change the light to green so you can go. But you say sometimes that you sit there for 10 minutes. Now, I know you're exaggerating, but it does seem like 10 minutes sometimes. But those technically aren't cameras. They are some sort of a sensor that does an image. How'd I do, Melinda? Good? All right, great. But Caroline, let me tell you something about an email I received over the weekend. So as you know, there's been some attention to speeding in our city. And the most recent concerns have been out our way on High Street and West High, although our son Brandon lives on East High, and the East High folks complain as well. And the suggestion was made over the weekend from a citizen that said, Mayor, you need more speed cameras. I don't think I'm an advocate for that, and based on what your daddy typed on that piece of paper there, they may not even be legal, so we haven't talked about that. But I would ask you to be more respectful, and I know you all are, more respectful when you're in neighborhoods and mind the speed limit, and God forbid that we have an accident in our neighborhoods because somebody's just driving a little too fast. Caroline, thank you. How were things at Holy Cross today? Good? Good? All right, you can go back with Daddy. Great job. You look like Rob.
This beautiful lady over here. Two things.
Not going there, sir.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Number one, I was in the second most beautiful city in the world today, Carmel, Indiana, that is flooded. It's the world's leader in roundabouts.
Roundabout capital of the world.
Yeah,
Carmel
so
calls themselves.
I personally applaud. You can put 100 more in this city. It works, okay? But my question really, when you mentioned speeding, Washington Street, I live on the corner of 3rd and Washington, and 2nd to 5th Street is like being in Indianapolis. It's a drag strip down through there. So Have you thought about maybe some speed bumps, something to deter people trying to get from 0 to 100 to avoid, the traffic lights on Clinton or the, cutting off in Jefferson? But it's a madhouse. I'd be happy to put up some cameras for you there if you need some evidence. But when you mentioned speeding and that being a focus, it might be a thought that maybe we could get some funding for.
And I also think it's going to be even worse once the no turn on red goes into effect, because people use Washington to avoid all the lights, to cut through, and then to go on Court Street to cut around and miss all of them. So it is a drag strip between.
So Katie's comment was, if you couldn't hear her, that, thank you, Rob. Katie's comment
She finishes
was,
my sentences a lot, just so.
comment was that once we institute the no right turn on red early next year, no, the middle of next year, then people will take more of the side streets, and we'll have speeding and all of that, and I couldn't agree more. Y'all remember, most of you remember, before 24, driving in Waterville. How many of you used to speed in Waterville? Not very many. Simply because you knew if you did, you'd probably get caught and you'd receive a ticket. In fact, you can even get closer to home. If you drove to Bryan, you never sped in Nay. Again, why? They patrolled the street. So truly, I believe we need to step up our game in our police division. Ryan's working on that. And if you get enough speeding tickets, you're going to slow down. As sad as it sounds, it's an enforcement thing. It truly, truly is. Speed bumps, yeah, they're expensive to install, they're expensive to maintain. They make snow removal a little bit difficult, but it can be done, so that may well be an option. A little concerned about the intersection, I know you are too, because you've shared it with me, of 4th and Wayne, because we don't have a four-way stop there. It's been suggested, I don't want to become a city of four-way stops. I'm all right with a city of roundabouts. I truly am. I appreciate that. And we've talked about little mini roundabouts at some of our intersections downtown, so stay tuned. We may experience something a little different downtown if we see the feasibility of it. Oh, boy. This is my sister, Patty.
Patty, I'm the mayor's much older sister, so your talk about stuff for kids to do, I totally agree with that. And I saw a little blurb on the Toledo News. They have an area down by the river that's a walkway during the summer, and then they flood it in winter to be a skate thing.
They just opened it. I saw them skating on it, I think, over the weekend.
We should be able to do that here somewhere.
We should be able to flood somewhere.
Ice skating is something that comes up. It is something that we need to address. I don't know. I think she left. President Menke and I are kind of discussing ice and so forth. It'll take a while. Yes.
My name is Ralph, and last year the state of Ohio adopted a resolution concerning fireworks, that they be allowed on certain days at certain times. And in our neighborhood and in other areas, I'm aware that it's really gotten very heavy. We experienced one very, very close to the house that was an aerial that didn't make it hardly off the ground. Shook the windows, scared the neighbors, traumatized the dogs, you name it. I appreciate celebration, but I think that you have no control over it other than what the state of Ohio allows for a class of fireworks in the days and the times. I have been raised around firearms my whole life, and I'm confident that at times there are firearms discharged within the fireworks celebration. So my question is, there's many cities in the state of Ohio that have opted out of this and just don't allow it. Why can't we do that, with possibly the exception of the city endorsed celebrations, such as the 4th of July on the river?
So that's a good question, Ralph, and thank you for asking that. Ralph lives right over here by Laddie's Grove, so, you know, he's close in, and we're pretty densely populated, and it's not really what I would call an ideal location for launching fireworks. City Council adopted an ordinance a couple years ago. I say a couple, Ralph, and it's probably been 4, but nonetheless, they adopted an ordinance, and that's exactly what they did. They allowed for fireworks on certain times. I don't know what those are. I could get Sean up here, but it's the 4th of July, probably Labor Day. Diwali, which was just this past weekend. Memorial Day, I'm sure. New Year's Eve, of course. A few holidays. More than a handful, but less than 10. And that's what we currently have. But I know there's a lot of frustration, people like you, Ralph. There's a lot of frustration on our city council because people aren't following the rules. And in all honesty, it's a lot like speeding. And it's going to require probably some more active enforcement. We also need to know. So I think my best advice to folks that are experiencing that is to call into the police department and tell them what's going on, and then they should dispatch a patrolman to deal with that issue. If they aren't firing them off when the patrol car is there, it's kind of difficult to identify where they come from. What they're going to force us to do, Ralph, and I really don't have an opinion, they're going to force us to ban fireworks entirely, besides our displays, of course.
Mayor, I did call the police department, and it was very, very heavy fireworks, very loud, and it was like 10 minutes till 11 at night. And I just had enough. So I called the police department, and I was informed that they are allowed to set off the fireworks until 11 o'clock, and there's nothing that they could do about it until after 11 o'clock.
Was that this weekend?
No, that was this past summer.
Okay.
So the police department told me their hands are tied because the state of Ohio allows the use of fireworks on certain days during certain times. And when they're in that window, the police department can't do anything about it. So it is too bad that some people take excessive advantage of that and disturb the neighborhoods. And I don't see any way to fix it other than what you just said, and that's just stop it altogether.
It is too bad. I agree with you. Anyone else? Mrs. McMaster.
Can I just stand? I want to thank you for the much larger, more convenient recycling bins.
Oh,
My children were so excited to come home and see it delivered that day. And also, they had to leave to go prepare for school tomorrow, but they wanted to know if you could also visit their school, Tenora, and get some suggestions for the kids who are open enrolled at other schools and yet live in Defiance and love our city.
we certainly can do that anytime we're invited, or maybe we'll work on getting invited. I do live in the district. Yeah. So you're welcome on the recycling. I will say that the rollout maybe didn't go quite as smooth as we'd hoped in that you had to make a reservation. I don't think we conveyed that very clearly. So Whirler had to put in an emergency order for around 300 more recycling containers, and we'll get those out just as quick as we can. But thank you for that comment. I really like our Tidy program. There was pushback on that when we started that, which is another one of the things I did shortly after I was elected, but I think they've proven to be a big benefit to us. Big benefit. Yep. That it? Ready to go home, Mrs. McCann? Honey, I'm just answering the questions. Is that a good night wave? No, you want to ask a question? Well, come on down. Sort of. I'm 67 years old.
Wow.
And I was a track starter.
I'm just wondering if they're adding on to the library. Somebody said somebody donated 2 homes over there.
I think there was an article recently in the newspaper about possibly doing something. Again, the library is completely separate from the city of Defiance. We
Okay.
don't fund the library. It's funded through tax dollars. There's discussion of a multi-use type annex. The brief conversation that I had with the librarian several months ago was all I begged her, and she assured me she would, that architecturally it would fit in with the library in the neighborhood. So stay tuned. I think there'll be proposals out there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I think you're all ready to go. It's past my bedtime. Thank you. I enjoyed this. Sarah, thank you.
My pleasure, and congratulations on your recent reelection and
Oh.
well-deserved third term in office.
Thank you. I look forward to going into work every day. I've never walked in from my car in the back door of City Hall and not regretted 1 minute what we're doing. Can't speak for my wife, but I'm happy. Thank you all for coming. Have a great evening. Be careful going home. Don't speed.